You know those days where you're putting your makeup on and your base products go on amazing, and then you hit that first snafu and then it just like everything goes off the realms? That's what we're dealing with today. So we ain't going to judge the eye makeup, the cheap products. We're just going to go with it and have a good day. Hi y'all, today's video is going to be something a little bit different. It's not going to be your typical one that I've been doing. It's called a tag video. And I seen it over on Erica's YouTube channel, and she had originally got the idea. As far as she knows, the original person that had come up with this was Jen Phelps, who I also watch Jen's videos, but it seems very in line with Jen. So I'm going to credit both of them and I'll link them down below. But basically what it is your, let's see what the exact name here is. It is the Drugstore Affordable Makeup Tag. I'm not against drugstore makeup. I just don't have a whole lot because there's very few things that I find that I genuinely love. I tend to be more towards the indie side or the higher end, but not too high end. But I do have quite a bit of drugstore, and there are things that I feel like for me personally, I can get just as good at the drugstore. Okay, so this should be pretty fun because it may help me tap into my inner drugstore girl, because that's what I originally started out as, is I was very, very into drugstore. I'm looking at Erica's video so that way I know the questions, and I'll link the questions down below in case you want to do it too, because by all means, let's bring these tags back. They're so much fun just to get to know what other people like. And I will say, I've been into makeup since 2020. I didn't really get into makeup prior to that. I mean, I wore makeup occasionally, but it was literally, I had one of everything I needed, and it would be eons old, and I would just replace it when I needed to. But I really got into makeup in 2020, and I got a lot of my knowledge by watching beauty influencers. And I would listen to see what was an across-the-board opinion. So I would watch videos and listen to what the common theme was, and then that would prompt me to, okay, I want to try that product, because I know even if it works for 1,000 people, it may not work for me. So that's a really great way. These tags are a really great way, in my opinion, to very much so learn what other people do and don't like, and what those common threads are that we keep hearing, so that way we can try them for ourselves and form our own opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. Okay, so the very first question, they're coming out strong. If you could only use one drugstore / affordable makeup brand, what would it be? Now, since I do like some indie that is more on the affordable side, then I probably will try to stick more to drugstore in most of these answers. So if I could only pick one drugstore brand that I could use, you know, had you asked me in 2020 or 2021, I would have hands down just had a resounding e.l.f. And while I feel like e.l.f.'s products are pretty dang good for the price, they don't last. I know I've kind of mentioned my issue with e.l.f. here or there in a few videos, but the very condensed story is that I had bought makeup from the website, from the company, from the brand, on their website, and the products I got, I made 3 orders over the span of just like less than 6 months. And I'm not talking small orders. I had a massive e.l.f. collection because I was just all in. I loved e.l.f. And out of those 3 orders that I made over the course of a 6-month or less period, which I think it was actually less, the last order that I had ordered was in the month of August, and one of the CBD lip balms that they sent me literally expired that month. And the only other products in my possession that I had from e.l.f. that had expiration dates was all ordered in that 6-month little window, and all of them were expiring within the next month or two, other than the CBD, which expired that month. The others were expiring within the next month or two, all the way up to within 3 to 4 months. And I was very upset because that's one of the main reasons why I personally enjoy buying from the brand's website, is because I feel at that point I'm getting the best, freshest type of product I can. And for it to not even last till the end of the month, that it expired the month I bought it and up to 3 to 4 months. I was not happy. I was very upset, and I reached out to them, and they were like, well, if you bought it in 90 days, excessive heat warning, Oklahoma. But they were saying, well, if you bought it in the last 90 days, we'll give you a refund. And I'm like, well, that's just, okay, we ain't gonna get into it on this story. So anyways, before that, I was a very big e.l.f. person. I was a very big e.l.f. fangirl. And I still genuinely think that a lot of their products are very good. And if you don't have a massive collection where you can just buy the product, use the product, get rid of the product when you're done with it, then hands down, go e.l.f. But if you're wanting something in your collection that's going to last more than 3 or 4 months, I just don't buy a lot of e.l.f. The e.l.f. products that I have recently bought, again, because I went like a year and a half, 2 years without even purchasing e.l.f. and I decluttered my entire collection. My daughter was over the moon happy with it. And it was just because I was frustrated. But so I have bought a couple more, but I don't ever buy anything that I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to keep this for more than 6 months. I just don't. So for that reason, I won't say that e.l.f. would be my all-time favorite. Now, if I was going to use it and be done with it, absolutely. But otherwise, I really don't know, because I'm not a huge user of a lot of things. Now, Milani has a really great foundation, a really great concealer. I've heard amazing things about their eyeshadows that I want to try. And I don't think anything, their lipstick, they have a lip liner. This is my Milani lip liner that is my holy grail. And I can still sharpen this. So, and I have a backup. I just refuse to get rid of it because I just love this shade that much. So I would say that for longevity, I have no idea, because I've not had anything from Milani that has went bad. But, so I would say long story short, I would say that if it's a one and done and I'm going to use it up within a matter of a month or 3 months or 4 months up to 6 months, then it would be e.l.f. But otherwise, it would be Milani, hands down. All right, and number 2 is, what's the most underrated drugstore affordable makeup brand? And I have seen a few people talking about this, but I feel like for the price and for all the reviews that you hear going around, as well as the products that I have tried from them, I feel like Essence doesn't get as much recognition as they did. I feel like, or as they should. I feel like there was like a trend of Essence, and now people are just kind of moving on to other things. And it could be because I feel like they're not really bringing anything out, anything new and exciting. And so we just have that new shiny syndrome, like, ooh, shiny, I want that. Ooh, I want that. And then we kind of forget those tried and true staples that just we rebuy and they just stay in our collection. And I feel like Essence is that. At least for me, I love a lot of their things, and there's a lot of their things that I want to try, but I feel like they just are a lot underrated for the kind of staple products that they give us. And what's the most overrated drugstore or affordable makeup? And I don't know that I would say overrated, but I'm not a huge fan of Physicians Formula. Like, I have a few of their products and I really liked a few of their products, but I feel like they just were overhyped. And I think people are now coming down, or have been probably for a year or two, but they've been coming down off of the Physicians Formula hype. But I was just, aside from their foundation, which their foundation, the Healthy Foundation, that was my holy grail for a short minute. And I mean, I loved it. And I probably still would if I could find the right shade anywhere. But I've also found some really great foundations that do just as good or better. I have 2 drugstore foundations that are my holy grail. They're my reach for. They're my go-to. I will reach for them time and again over other more expensive ones. One is from Yuma, Uoma, which I can't rate them as like underrated or anything, because that's the only thing of theirs I've tried, but their foundation is hands down underrated because it is the most beautiful formula, especially for maturing skin. And the other one is Hard Candy. Again, we bought my daughter back in 2020 when me and her were both getting into makeup. We bought her one of those eyeshadow palettes, and I did not like it at all, but she loved it. And I think it's because it was bright colors. It was her first one. Her dad bought it for her, so she was all gaga over it. but their foundation was just beautiful. And I keep it in my drawer, and I will reach for that one and the Uma, I think that's how it's said. I'm not sure, but those two, amazing. But other than that, the most overrated, I would think, we're going to have to give me a second because I'm really not sure I have to think about this. I feel like that tick, 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 tick should be going on. Oh, yeah, I had said physician's formula. That's what it was. I was like, I could have swore I answered this. Don't mind me, menopause brain. And the next one is, what is your favorite drugstore product under $5? And I don't know about under $5. I mean, I may just bump it up a penny and go for the $5 even, because one of my favorite things is, and it's from Dollar General, and it is the Believe Beauty Foundation, and that there's a shade, I think it's called Nude, I believe so. It is a perfect shade match for me, and it is very full coverage, but you can kind of sheer it out a little bit to where it's not so in your face, and it's hydrating, so it's really good for my skin. It sets so beautifully on my skin. It is so hard to find that shade. I don't know if that's like the common denominator shade that like everybody and their mother goes and buys, but I just can't find it around here. Or maybe they're phasing it out. I have no clue, but I have not been able to get that shade in a hot minute. But other than that, that would be, if I have $5 and you gave me a bunch of stuff, that's the one I'm reaching for. Okay, and Number 5, what is a hidden gem from the drugstore that nobody talks about? And I'm, again, gonna tap onto the Essence, because I have this bullet lipstick from Essence, and it is a gorgeous shade. It is absolutely beautiful. It is a perfect shade for me, and it's called 06 Real. And as a bullet lipstick, I'm not a big bullet lipstick user most of the time. And that's because I like lip products that's going to stay on my lips. I like to be able to put it on there. I don't want to feel it. I want to actually look in the mirror and go, oh, I still got lip product on. That's literally happened. The NYX Whip, whatever red lippy that I have in a project pan, I put it on and it is bold and in your face, and then it felt so comfortable on my skin and it didn't transfer, and I literally forgot I was wearing it. And every time I look in the mirror, I go, oh, red lips, you know? And this, as a bullet lipstick, it is very long lasting. It does transfer a little, but it sets down and it stays pretty good. And this is the bullet lipstick that I will reach for over and over again, and I have to stop myself from reaching for it. And I just feel like not enough people really pay attention or know about this, or even if they did, they've already moved on. But I really enjoy it, and it is a great bullet lipstick. And number 6, funny enough, is what's your favorite drugstore foundation? Which I've already mentioned them, and they've got my little tags. But this one is the Hard Candy. Let me try to get it to focus. It is the Hard Candy Glamouflage Full Coverage Foundation, and I have mine in shade Buff 1504, and this is a really beautiful foundation. I am not over the moon with the doe foot, but it is kind of angled so you can get up in there really good. But it is a great foundation, and I really love it. And coming in right fast and at second with that one is, let me find the, all right, try to get it to, and it is the UOMA, not OUMA, UOMA, and it's the Flawless IRL Skin Perfecting Foundation, and I have mine in White Pearl, and it is a smidge light, but I'm okay with that because I can just darken it up, you know, kind of like bronze it up and kind of make it match better. And hands down, these two, I would probably pick over the Believe Beauty, actually. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just take all three. I think I'll just take all three because these are great foundations, very great foundations. And I feel like both of these are very underrated. I don't think I have ever heard anyone talk about them. I literally bought these just because I was trying to find a shade match, a very good shade match for me, so that way I'd have a better understanding of my shade. And I lucked out and got them both in a really great shade match. This one is a little bit light. The bottle is not very accurate to what you're going to get when you get the product out, but they're really great shades, and I really do like them. I think they're very beautiful formulas. What products do you tend to buy more at the drugstore? And again, that's going to be foundation. I buy a lot of my foundation at the drugstore just because I can't see spending $50, $60, $70 or better on a foundation that is not going to stay on my skin super long anyways. Maybe it's menopause. Maybe it's the Oklahoma heat. Maybe I'm just an excessive face toucher. I mean, I'm sure as the videos show, but foundations just aren't super, super long lasting for me. Even the high end ones, I have found some that last longer than others, but I'm not going to spend $50 for a foundation to find out I hate the formula. It doesn't last 5 minutes when I can go buy $3 or $4 or $5, $6, $7 foundations or 10 or 12 at the drugstore, and it work just as well for me, or even in some cases better. So foundations are what I buy the most at the drugstore. However, as a side note, concealers don't lump into that. I do not like very many drugstore concealers at all. I do have a couple that are my holy grail, like favorite concealers that I will buy at the drugstore. But for the most part, I haven't had as good a luck on concealers as I had on foundations. Number 8, what drugstore brand do you feel is overpriced? And again, not to shit on e.l.f., but I was going to buy my daughter that loser fruit strawberry set because she loves strawberries. Not so much loser fruit. I don't think she's ever even heard of her, but she loves strawberries. And I was like, it's e.l.f. I'll buy it for her. She can collect it. Even if she doesn't use it, even if it goes bad, she can just set it up there and it'd be cute. I'm not spending $45 for an eyeshadow palette that is basically the equivalent of like 2 of their $3 palettes, 2 of their 3 little bite-sized palettes, and 1 of their e.l.f. Duo palettes and another one. It was not worth the money just because there's a collab attached to it. Now, I have no problem paying that price for a collab, but not when it's e.l.f. Cosmetics that's not going to last that long. I feel like with collabs, it may be okay to bump it up enough, but whenever I broke it down into, and I'm that type of person, I'm that type of girl that I always try to figure out, is this worth the value for what you're getting? And when I broke it down, if you bought each of those pans, each of those items individually from e.l.f. without the name attached to it, just the e.l.f. product, you was going to be spending about $22-ish, around in there. So to then pay double that, just because it's a collab, I didn't feel was worth it. Now, if that product lasted, if it wasn't a matter of it got old, then hands down I would have done it in a heartbeat. But I didn't buy that. So I do feel in certain areas, e.l.f. is starting to get more into a price range that doesn't equal the products that you're buying as far as longevity of them. Number 9, what's your favorite drugstore dupe? Now, as is going to be the case with me whenever I hate something or love something, we go on back to e.l.f. because, again, their products are great. It's the longevity that I have an issue with. But one of my all-time holy grail favorite, and it's more of a contour, but because I'm so fair, I can use it as a bronzer, is the, let me actually get this correct. It is the ABH, there we go, there she is. It is the ABH, and it is the contour stick. Oh, here we go. It is the contour stick in Fawn. And this is a gorgeous bronzer for me. It is absolutely perfect. And I got it as a free gift with purchase from ABH. And surprisingly, e.l.f. has one that is very, very similar to, actually, because, and it is their putty bronzer. Now, Their putty bronzer is a little bit more light. It has to be kind of built up a little, which I'm okay with because sometimes I feel some bronzers are just, oh, that's the other one that I was going to talk about. But I feel sometimes their products or their bronzers in general are just a little too aggressive for me some days. And so, again, I'm not the best at swatching, but we're just going to do this. So, this is the ABH, and this is the Luminous bronzer. The bottom is the Luminous bronzer, putty bronzer by e.l.f., and the upper one, the top one, there we go, is the putty bronzer from e.l.f. Now, they're not exact dupes, but when you shear out that ABH to where it's not just like a big, bold, in your face, they start looking much more similar. And as soon as I tried the putty bronzer, I knew it was a very close dupe for the ABH. Now, personally, I would just buy the ABH because I know it's going to last. But in a pinch and for vacations and everything else, I will buy the e.l.f. bronzers and I will just use them because I don't care if I lose them. They're not expensive, so if I lose it, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas I wouldn't want to take my ABH somewhere where I could possibly lose it and then have to replace it, you know. So that is one of my favorite dupes. But also on the e.l.f. dupe train, there is the brow lift, which is one of the things that I decided when I come back to e.l.f. this year that I wanted to try because I had heard so many people talking about the ABH brow freeze and that the e.l.f. was a dupe. It's okay. I like it. I don't have the ABH to test it out, but I will get a good opinion on what I think of this. When I do finally buy the ABH, I'll have a great comparison. And then onto another dupe from Drugstore is again another e.l.f. And this is their camo powder foundation. And I don't know if you can see how much I've used of this. I completely wore off the little embossing. You can still faintly see it. And this is my reach for my go-to. Like, I don't feel like putting on a ton of makeup today. I'll throw this on my face, some mascara, maybe one sweep of an eyeshadow, a lip gloss, or a lip stain or something, and I'm done. Like, maybe a little bit on the cheeks. This is amazing. Whereas the L'Oreal Infallible powder... Whereas the L'Oreal powder, whereas the L'Oreal Infallible Powder Foundation left me flaky and dry, and I hated it. And it was like, I used it one time and I instant decluttered it to my daughter, and that has been her holy grail. I have bought 2 more for her, 1 or 2 more. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 more, but I have bought her, and when she runs out, she gets a new one. However, this one, I bought it thinking the same thing was going to happen. I was like, well, I'll test it. If I don't like it, I'll declutter it to my daughter, and then she'll have another one. And I ended up loving it. I love this powder foundation more than I have ever loved a powder foundation in my entire life. And that's what I say about e.l.f. It is not always the product, it's the longevity. Because hands down, when this goes out, when this goes bad or whatever, I'll buy it again. I'll buy it again, toss it in my collection, take it with me, throw it on in a quick face, and when it goes bad, I will toss it and go. That's okay at the price point, but they're starting to edge past that it's okay price point. You know what I mean? Number 10, what is the best drugstore eyeshadow formula? I'm not sure I can really jump on this train because as far as drugstore eyeshadows, I have tried like Makeup Revolution. If you want to count them as drugstore, they are affordable. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Can you use it? Yes. Will it work? Yes. Is it good? Nah, not so much for me. I have tried e.l.f. e.l.f. Typically, as usual with e.l.f., I really enjoy most of their eyeshadow formulas. But they just don't last before they stop giving you the payoff that they need. They stop working as well as they did. They start not being as great. But when you get it right then, e.l.f. has a really great formula. I have heard really good things about Milani. I do want to try that one. And I've tried a couple of Wet n Wilds. Wasn't a fan. Decluttered them. Just not my jam. And I think there's a couple others that I have tried and I've just never been a huge fan. So as far as what I've currently tried, it would be e.l.f. What I would like to try is Milani. And there are a couple of Essence eyeshadows that I'd like to try because I've heard really good things about that, because I'd like to put them on my best eyeshadow list. Number 11, what is the worst drugstore eyeshadow formula? And I may get a little bit of hate for this, but it's going to be okay, because I have, for the longest time, since probably before 2020, always considered CoverGirl the worst of drugstore, the worst this, the worst that, the worst of it. So whenever I'm making a joke with my husband about, yeah, they're like CoverGirl formula, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I have never had good luck with CoverGirl eyeshadows. Even before 2020, before I get into makeup brushes, when it was just those little like spongy applicators, oh my goodness. I am not a fan of CoverGirl eyeshadow formula. So for me, that would definitely have to be my worst that I've ever experienced. Number 12. A drugstore brand you used to love but aren't crazy about anymore. I mean, I'm not going to go on yet another e.l.f. tangent, so we're gonna just say e.l.f. Like, I love the products, I don't love the longevity. I know I've said that 8 billion times in this video, but this is the fact for me. If I can find the video, I will post it right over here, of my e.l.f. collection that I decluttered. And it was the collection that I had bought from the e.l.f. brand website mostly. I had picked up a couple things at Walmart here or there, but most of them were things bought at the e.l.f. brand website. And I had, within just a couple of few orders, bumped up to icon status at their points program, and I'm still coasting out on that because, I mean, again, you'll see if I can find that picture. Drugstore product you didn't expect to like, but totally wowed you. Oh, you know, I'm going to go with CoverGirl, because if you've seen my July entries, you'll know the story about this, which is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skincare Color Correcting Serum Moisturizer and Primer. Now, I have tried a CoverGirl product since 2020. I had heard everyone going all crazy about the CoverGirl BB cream, and when I was growing up, I could only get CoverGirl. My mom would only allow me to pick CoverGirl products for makeup. And I had that orange line, you know the one, the orange line, because it oxidized horribly on my skin. And so as soon as I started having the ability to pay for my own makeup, I never bought another CoverGirl foundation ever. Well, I heard everybody going gaga. Nobody was talking about oxidation. I was like, okay, I'm in it to win it. I went and bought a BB cream, used it one time, had the orange line. I mean, I buffed it down so it was like, had the orange neck, but I decluttered it. So that was like the last. I have this CoverGirl lipstick, which is one I have mentioned, and it is actually one that is wildly too pink for me. That still smells fine, sadly. But my daughter, it was hers. She gave it to me. She decluttered it to me, and I figured I'd keep on. I honestly expected that she'd want it back eventually, because she'll do that. She'll like declutter something to me, and then a little bit later be like, hey, you still have that lipstick? And so I'll give it back to her. She hasn't come back for it, so it may end up in the trash. But other than that, this is the only CoverGirl, and it wowed me. I mean, this stuff is amazing. It is not, you know, revolutionary. It's not, oh my God, that's like a huge difference. But whenever I have a fresh face, no makeup, no nothing, and I'm not going to put any on, this, you just put it on, and it helps tone down a lot of your discoloration. That's the word. So it'll tone down a lot of the discolorations. It does not get rid of your dark under eyes. It does not hide it, but it just helps even it out to where if you're not going to wear makeup that day, this stuff is amazing. It does say that it's a serum, moisturizer, and primer. I wouldn't use this as a primer, but I would use it as an all over my face. I'm not wearing makeup moisturizer, and it's very good at that. And number 14, so your favorite affordable palette right now. If I had to pick a favorite, and I am going to step away from the drugstore because I don't have a drugstore palette that is my favorite that I'm using right now. But as far as affordable, it would be the Juvia's Place, the Warrior palette. I have had this for, oh God, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. But I have had this palette since, I want to say 2020. And I bought it because everybody was raving about the Juvia's Place formula and how affordable they were. And so I bought this one and a few others. And this is my go-to. It does not show a ton of usage, but I do use it, and it is that good that I just don't have to use a lot of it. So it is my go-to. It's my favorite. It is all the colors I love. Yellow is my favorite color, and it has, which this looks more yellow on the video right now, but it may not, and it's more of a gold color, and this is more of a deeper gold color, but it is a beautiful palette, and this is one that I could declutter everything from ColourPop. I could declutter everything from Juvia's Place, but you're not getting my Warrior palette. I would probably throw hands to keep this one because I just really love the formula. I really love the shades. I really love everything about it. All right, so we have finally come to the end after multiple sidetracks, rants, and everything else. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. And if you are still here and you have made it this far in the video, leave a sunflower emoji on the bottom. Just let me see who all's made it this far and who got lost along the way on the rant track. All right, guys, please like, comment, and share if you are so inclined to. Please don't forget to subscribe. I really would love to get to know y'all in the comment section below. So hit me up down there and I will always reply back. All right, y'all guys, have a great day. Bye.